Alternative. This is the first time actually that I'm picking up this topic. So I'll give you some background about our cause, our mission, about myself a little bit, and then we'll get into the topic itself. I know that the program was supposed to start at 11, it's 11:10, so my friend tells me now is a good time to start. And I will also say that it's not in the number, how many people show up. It's about who shows up. It's about who is interested in it. In fact, in the US, where we've been doing Gita reflections for the last 12 years, often I say that Shri Krishna could have picked up a loudspeaker and said, "Hey Arjun, hey everyone, 18 Aukshani Sena, listen everyone, I'm about to give out the most important gospel. Listen everyone." He could have said कि यार तेरे 4 भाइयों को तो बुला ले पीछे में अभी ना मैं जो कहने जा रहा हूँ. But if Arjun wanted that, whoever wants it, that's the key. It's the desire. Desire is the fuel. There is no insistence on God's part. There is no insistence on the part of the truth to prove itself. Truth, something competing, something conflicting. And so things first, I would like to thank you all for being here. It is my honor, it is my privilege that you chose to give your time. I can imagine 10 other things, 10 other places where you could have gone to do different things, but you still favored me here to listen to this message. In our scriptures, Sanatan Dharma Shastra, may I have come across something that says that when a Vakta, the speaker, has an obligation to be very careful in making sure that not a single breath is wasted of the listeners, those who have made this a choice to come here. So there is a big responsibility on my head that the most finite resource that you have, your breaths, the time that you have, you've chosen to bring those here. And so it is my obligation, I want to acknowledge that it is my responsibility to be careful and not wasteful of a single breath. And so with that, I humbly thank you for being here. I appreciate your presence. I appreciate the blessings of the elders and the grace as well and the opportunity. I also would like to thank someone who's not here, Samir Bendre yet. I think I thought I saw him here, but he might come in for organizing this. Dr. Dev Pujari, for always being an inspiration and encouraging, and friends and supporters for being here. A little bit about so we call this Empowering Gita Reflections. Obviously, clearly, this is about the Gita. There's no confusion. Let there be no confusion, question, doubts about like what am I talking about? It's about the Bhagwad Gita, right? There are many Gitas. Apparently there are 108 Gitas. I'm talking about Shri Krishna's Bhagavad Gita. That's just generally when we say Gita, that's the most commonly understood. The other thing I'd like to clarify, as Michael Jackson would say, I'm a lover, not a fighter, right? In one of his famous songs. And the point of that is that I'm not here to argue, prove anything. There's nothing to prove. The truth, again, truth does not need proof. Or pick a side, or insist on anything, or be stuck up in only this or that. Whatever I say, whatever I share, this is a promise. It is completely 100% based on my own personal experience, not just hearsay, copy and paste, idhar ka udhar ka. If I haven't experienced it, I will not talk about it. Then I will obviously, if I do say something, I will say that I have heard or it is said. But whatever I share with you today, majority of it will be driven by my personal experience itself. And in that sense, my personal experience informs me that the truth is so broad, it is so inclusive, it is so expansive, that it has place for everything and everyone. All fundamentals, all principles, all concoctions, all variations are possible in it. Otherwise, it's not the full and final truth. If there is insistence that this alone can be right or this alone is, then there's probably some open questions, what about that? And so what I represent, what I have learned from the Gita is that aspect of truth which is the most expansive and the most inclusive. And so in that sense, towards the end, after I'm done, we will engage in some question and answers, obviously. My request is that while I get through it, maybe if we can hold off some questions, just so the momentum is not interrupted. With that, very briefly about, and so the point of that's Gita, reflection is simply that. I'm only reflecting, right? Like when the sunshine falls on the mirror, mirror has no credit. It's zero credit. It's just reflecting. Everything is the glory and the grace of the sun. So these are only reflections. These are my personal reflections. A mirror would reflect one way, a stone would reflect another way, a diamond would reflect in 1,000 ways. So therefore, even this, my reflection is not the full truth. Obviously, it could not be. I'm only reflecting however much I'm able to, in a limited way. So the Gita, these are my reflections. But what I've been told, we've been doing these for the last 12 years, that these are empowering, that they help the thoughts and the reflections and the conversations and the engagement and the questions and answers, and really the rumination and the contemplation helps the listeners, those who give it some more time, to get through life's challenges. At the end of the day, the glory of the Gita, in my experience, is that it meets us where we are. It does not say, do this much, this, and that. I'll get into that in a moment. Whoever you are, wherever you are, however you are, regardless, the Gita is applicable. And we can pick it up, we can take it, and we can run with it. And hence, it is empowering in that sense. And so this is a term that I coined for our own audience in the US, that these are empowering Gita reflections. The power comes from the only one powerful that there is, right? The Supreme Almighty, whatever, whether we consider him Nirakar, Brahma, or Sakar, Parameshwar, it doesn't matter. Whoever it is, whoever you believe, whoever you think God is, the power comes from that aspect of God, not just we're all reflectors only. And so the emperor is the empowerer, as I say. So the Gita Alternative, we'll get into that topic. By the way, I've been talking about, I should clarify that, again, make no mistake about it. For me, just to answer most questions, in like, Krishna is it. Like, this is the love of my life. This is the love of my soul. I am my main identity I would like to leave behind is that he was a lover of Krishna Premi. If I could ever claim that, then that would be the reward of all my lifetimes. And so if someone asks me what my path is, it's simple as that. I can't define any more than that, which is why my boss is right there in the center. So the Gita Alternative, hopefully the name is intuitive enough. Again, this is the very first time that I'm talking on this topic. Our reflections are typically on chapters, like Pala Adhyaya, Dusra Adhyaya. So we do this in Marathi, Hindi, and English in the US. But as I was coming here, I thought maybe let's just take that up. A little bit about me. I am a full-time working professional in executive management. My current role is as the managing director of international strategy for a large national nonprofit in the US. If you go to shareourstrength.org or nokidhungry.org and then look up on the leadership page, then you'll get to know a little bit more about me. Or of course, I'm on LinkedIn also, like most professionals are of that. Prior to that, I was in the C-suite as the chief operating officer of a Wall Street traded company into renewable energy and gas industry. And then in between ran a consulting company before accepting this. This is a nonprofit. No Kid Hungry works on fighting child hunger. We've succeeded very close to eliminating child hunger in the US, and we're now mobilizing internationally. And I am leading that charge starting in India. And that work has brought me here. Essentially, I'm here on work, but I decided to take a few days and come to Nagpur also because my parents and my younger brother and his family live in Nagpur as well. So that's who I am. Like in terms of this physical body that you see, there is a lot more to who I am and who all of us are, obviously, speaking of the Gita. This is just the shell, this is just the screensaver that you see. And a little bit about empowering Gita reflections. We are on the net and all in different ways. And I put this slide in the end also in case. So gitayog.org is the website that can link you to all the other resources. On YouTube, if you go on youtube.com and look up Empowering Gita Reflections, then there's about 1,000, close to 1,500 posts on it, audios, videos by playlists, English, Hindi, Marathi, as well as different topics, mostly related to the Gita. on that. So, and then of course, I mean, these days you have to have social media accounts as well. We have 3 different WhatsApp groups depending on people's likings in Marathi or Hindi or India or US. And then of course, podcasts, SoundCloud, and that's my US number. If anyone is interested, let me know. I can include you in the WhatsApp group, or you can obviously access the resources there as well. All of this is free. My wife Madhvi and I run a nonprofit out of our home and our heart, out of our pocket for the last almost 20 years now, predominantly targeting Indian children growing up in the US, kids who are born and raised in India, to make sure that they do not veer off too far from our roots. And it's really, the credit is my wife. She's the one who started and was running it for a number of years. She grew up in the US. Madhvi she was born in Madhanagar, where the Pizza Hut is. That used to be their home. And then when she was 2 years old, she went to the US, grew up there. And so she wanted to give back and make sure that, so as she was teaching the kids, she said, why don't you also engage the parents? And that's how Gita Yoga was born. And it's been going great. On every Saturday, Sunday, we go to different temples or people's homes. And then we also do hybrid or virtual, in again, Hindi, Marathi, English, depending on the need there. So kids and adults. And so with that, we'll get into the topic. What I am hoping to impress on your minds today, something very simple on my mind, hopefully this is intuitive also, is that time, right, our lifetime here, the number of breaths, whether you believe in number of breaths or the amount of lifespan or the years or however, our time here is the most finite resource. I mean, this is a very simple truth. I really want to impress this upon your mind, the 3 or 4 things that I'm about to say now. The first one of which is that our time here in the human form is the most limited resource. It's not money, it's not contact, it's not whatever else, but the time gone is time gone, especially in the human form. I could talk for 2 hours just on that, like the glory of the human form, the significance of having born as a human. On top of that, on the land of India, arguably the most sacred, the holiest land that you can experience. I told you, everything that I will say today is my personal experience. This is not borrowed or copied. It's been inspired by the Gita. All of it is, I'll give the whole credit, entire credit to Krishna and his Gita. But I wouldn't accept it until I have experienced it myself. So when I talk about the holy land of India, the sacred land of India, I have actually done a lot of pilgrimage. The Ayodhyas, Mathura, Vrinda, Jagannath Puri, Kurukshetra, a number of times. Every time I've come back with the experience of my God, there is no place like this holy land, for sure. So to being born in a human form, being born in India, in this soil, and having the Sanatan Dharma, Hindu, whether we call it Hindu or really originally the Sanatan Dharma, there cannot be a bigger blessing than that. There cannot be a bigger. And so we have time, but time is also running out. And I'm very, very tempted to quote lots of Bare zale aji vari nahi padlo mrityu che ahari. Tukaram Maharaj, at some point he realized that Vatsona alo ethavari urale hari tumha samarpana. Dila ya kare avakash nahi pavale ayushanash. Sattva jodi ata shevati god ghas. And so this is one example. It's a longer, and I can quote others as well. Manushyatvam, mumukshatvam, mahapurushyasya sangam. Adi Shankaracharya said that these are cascading significant. Like if you are a human, then you have a good shot at realizing the truth. On top of that, if you have mumukshatva, those who are here clearly are driven by mumukshatva. Some search. Right? You're looking for something. There's something. You have, obviously, all of you have everything that one could ask to live a comfortable life. You have all the contacts, you have all the food, clothing, shelter, and all of it. But there's still some pilot lamp at the back of the mind that's saying that this isn't. There's got to be something more. And that's sort of mumukshatva, that I'm still seeking freedom. Well, what is binding you? Mukti उसी को चाहिए जो बंधन में हो. बंधन किसका है? The bandhan doesn't, as we say, like, is vastu ne, this has not held me, bound me. I held on. Right? Nothing is binding me. I am holding on to something. Whatever I feel like is binding me, I'm holding on to it, therefore. And so we're searching for that. That's mumukshatva. And then For me, for example, Gita was as Vangmayin Swarup Mahapurusha Sangam. India is also superior because just today there are so many wonderful, amazing saints and sages and gurus, like whether Sadguru or Shri or Ammaji or Guru Ma, North, East, West, South. Right now it's a vibrantly alive culture. If you go a few 100 years back, we had Tukaram Maharaj, Ramdas Swami, Jnaneshwar Maharaj, Guru Nanak, Mirabai, anywhere you go, Adi Shankaracharya. If you go years ago, then we had all the sages. There has never been a time, including this time, to be born in India, that we don't have access to the truth. That's an excuse. The truth is available. The question becomes, do we associate with them, right? So Manushatvam, Mumukshatvam, and Mahapurusha Sangam. All three are available to us today here, to each of us, as they were as available to me as they are to you. And so with that, the time as the finite resource, the most limited resource that we have, the smart thing to do, simple common sense, is to use it for something that is at least equally valuable. If I take a 100 rupee note or a 500 rupee note and want to buy something from the store, I don't want to buy something that's worth less. I want to get a better price. I want to buy something that's worth more than 500 rupees, or at least equal. And so if time is the most finite resource, if it's the most precious thing, the question becomes, what am I using it for? Watching TV, cricket, all that is good for entertainment if needed. But is that, what am I trading my life for? I'm giving out my life breaths, like $1 million note each breath. What am I getting in return? If we think of it from a business point of view, scientific point of view, and I will say just a common sense point of view, what am I trading this for? And so keep that in mind. My request, my prarthana is that be vigilant, be careful, be guarded, guard the most precious resource in looking for what am I using it for every time as much as you can. So the first thing I want to impress on your mind is simply that every breath, the time that we're spending. The second is that I must seek whatever is equally valuable. The search is there. It might be dormant, it might be sleeping, but it's there. It makes no sense for even a little bit of a scientific mind or common sense that I don't know where I was born from, what am I born for, who am I, where I came from, and I don't know what happens when I die. I don't know where do people go when they die? What happened with all that? It cannot be that just this finite life started at some point when I was born and ends when I terminate, is it. And so we must search. There are answers. I am emphasizing this. I'm insisting this, right? I told you again that I will not say anything that I haven't experienced personally, which is what drives the conviction. The answer is there. That who am I? For example, and what I'm saying is with the precious resource that I have, we must find out. We can have this. Right? That's the third thing that I would like to impress on your mind, that the truth does not need us to be a Brahmin or a Hindu or born in India or brown or white or any of that. If it's the truth, then it is the universal truth, all-inclusive, all-pervasive truth. Can only be the final truth. And that was the premise of Sanatana Dharma. Hindu is great. I'm a Hindu, obviously born Hindu. But Hindu is not the final, ultimate summum bonum, as they say. It's not the ultimate either. It's the Sanatana Dharma. If I have to go to the airport from here, I can go. There's a way for me to go to the airport from here. There's a way for those who live in Itwari or Imamwada or Gitti Khadan, wherever they live. They can all get to the airport. But those who live in Sonigao find it easiest and quickest and swiftest to get to the airport. And so Hinduism is like that. The Sonigao is not the airport. Just by being there, I cannot get on the plane. I still have to get to the airport to take off, right? But those who are around it, close to it, near it, find it less problematic, easier, and quicker. Hinduism to me is like that. Hinduism does not necessarily, the truth is not, again, my experience. Sanatana Dharma is the truth. But Hinduism happens to be so close to it, the proximity. It's right around. It's Sonigao. One step further. And in my experience, I've studied Christianity, less of Islam, but more Christianity, Buddhism, Sikhism, less Jainism. And I have to agree, just a very unbiased and honest opinion. And I don't mind being challenged on it. I can defend my religion very succinctly. Hinduism really is the closest to the truth, no question about it, with an open mind. And those we were just talking about, who was I talking with? About Emerson and Thoreau and others. There are so many Western philosophers also. We were Dr. Deshmukh, we were talking about it, right? So many of them have put the Gita on their head and danced, including your Thoreau, right? 6th chapter. Yomam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam cha mai pashyati, tasyaham na pranashyami, sachame na pranashyati. That some of the greatest philosophers on this planet, Eastern or Western, have said that God, there's nothing like the truths and the fundamentals in Sanatana Dharma. And I'm not just borrowing from them. This is my truth also. Never mind Thoreau and Emerson as well, right? I've done my own experiment over the last 30 years as well. And so we'll get into that a little bit also. And so the third thing I want to impress on your mind before we delve into is that everyone can have it. Everyone must have it. What are we doing here? Just doing the same thing again, picking up our scooter or car or going to treating patient, all that is great. Service is front and center in the Gita. Service of humanity is. But not at the cost of never compromising the truth, right? Not at the cost of never knowing the answers. And so again, your breaths, your time is the most finite resource. Use it for the most precious achievement as well. Everyone must have it. And the biggest thing is everyone can have it. By it, I mean the experience of the truth. And so the question that began my quest, interestingly, happens to be the very common. There's nothing special, obviously, about me. These questions seem to be the most common questions that have bothered philosophers and ordinary, normal people like me, and most spiritual aspirants also. That who am I? And then you obviously find answer later. Aham Brahmasmi and others. There are 9 Mahavakyas. In the Upanishads, some of the famous ones, as you would know, is Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, all of those. But those are answers. You get the answer if you ask the question, who am I? Main kaun hu? Obviously not what it appears to be, not just the body, not just the shell. The second question, once we get close to finding answer to that question about who am I, concurrently the question in the head is, who is God? Is there God? Bhagwan kehte, God kehte. Is this a concocted notion? Is it just some idea, some ideology someone has created to mint more money or what have you, or preach your own religion? Is there a real God? And if so, who? Who is that? Who is God? And then obviously the third question then becomes, again, this has been my journey. All I'm doing is sharing my journey with you. And so that limited value, the real value will be in your journey. Right? My prayer is that, my request is that you must take up your own journey. I'm showing the path that I have followed and the truth that it has led to, and how the Gita has been the highway, the main highway that has taken me. There are many ways that go to the truth. There are many other paths. They're all eloquent, glorious. They all have their place, no question about it. But I believe that Gita is the swiftest and the most efficient. So the next question becomes, what is my relationship? If I know now who I am, which is not the body, not the mind, not the intellect. Again, each of these is a big topic. Panchakosh, right? We could just spend 45 minutes, an hour about, well, then who am I? Once you're close to that answer, who is God? Is there God? There are different flavors, different forms, different names, including the formless and the nameless form of God. I have to use that word because I don't know how else to communicate. There is the formless form of God, right? That's an oxymoron for those of you who get what I'm trying to say. So because it's hard for us humans to talk without attaching some name and form. In contemplation, in meditation, in rumination, it is possible, intuitively, absolutely possible. Ritambara pragya is the great aphorism of the Vedas, right? It is absolutely possible to experience the truth without using a name or a form. In fact, the name and the form then disappear, because name and the forms become limiting in that case, because then you're not able to see the whole thing. But as humans, as we are trained and wired, I think we have to take refuge of that. What is my relationship? वो होगा जिधर होगा, जैसे अब गॉड भगवान मंदिर में है और अयोध्या में है, what use do I have? वो स्वर्ग में है, कहीं पर भी है, like सब ब्रह्मलोक में, how am I related? Am I completely on my own, doing my own thing, and he or she or it are doing their own thing, and like somehow, what is the connection? Am I even connected? That's the next question that was bothering me, and the answers are there. And then once these three questions are answered, and again there are clear, unequivocal, consistent, and the same answers to these questions. This is the other phenomenal truth that I found, that I've listened to many different saints and sages of before and the current ones. And what really tickles me, what makes me the happiest, really, is that every one of them, whatever, ultimately, if you really follow them honestly, right? This is all about being an open-minded person, being an honest person, not being stuck, not insisting, aisa hi hai, waisa hi hai, this cannot be, that cannot be. If we can keep an open mind, as long as we are able to keep an open mind, then where those people reach is the same exact truth, which is the best part, this gift of Sanatana Dharma. So once those three are answered and you have that, the question becomes, okay, how do I live the rest of my life? There's no reason to kill myself. I have to do something, right? The Gita says that it's not possible. In the Gita, right, 3rd chapter, 4th chapter, that talk a little bit about karma, a lot about karma, not a little bit. Just it's not possible to sit and do nothing. When you think you're doing nothing, you're still doing something. And so might as well identify the purpose, might as well be purposeful in whatever you're doing every single time and keep that integrity. And so the question becomes, okay, how do I live then? If I have 20 years to live, 30 years to live, 15 years to live, 2 days to live, how should I live? I have a lot of breaths. What should I use it for? And so, again, if one of you walks away with this, that like I really want to know the answers to these questions. I think I have time enough. I have access to resources. I think then the job will be done here. Why the Gita Alternative? Again, the glory of Sanatana Dharma. Hinduism is a branch of Sanatana Dharma. Hinduism is the closest, probably the most prominent, the most brightest bulb and on the sort of the canvas of Dharma that you cannot ignore, but it's not the full and complete. Sanatan is original, right? It means ever fresh, ever relevant, ever current, always in fashion. It will never fade. Sanatan is literally in Sanskrit, the word would imply that because it's the truth, it will never be annihilated. And we start sort of see that Hinduism, the Mughals came, and the British came, and the Portuguese came, and the Spaniards came. They all come and go. But this religion, this way of living will never, ever be crushed. It's not possible, because it is the closest to the truth, if not the truth itself. And so we don't have to live in fear. Obviously, we have to do the right thing, and we have to be smart, and we have to defend ourselves. And we do all that, right? Like India does all that. But there is no reason to be. The whole premise of Sanatana Dharma is rooted in love of God, not fear of God. As I said, when I studied Christianity and Islam and others, they're more driven by fear of God. Bhagwan ke dar se. I do this and I follow this and because I'm afraid. Otherwise, I'll be punished. I'll go to hell. Christians believe. And I say to my Christian friends, just last week, I had 10 white American people with me going crisscrossing the country for our No Kid Hungry cause, and 3 of those were Christians, and I was the 4th person in the van. So like their claim is that whoever does not follow Jesus or Christianity will burn in hell. And so the whole idea of religion is, I don't want to burn in hell, therefore I will back. And Hinduism, but really Sanatana is the opposite of it. No, do what you do, however you do, out of love, not fear. Love drives. Love is the stronger force. Love is the strongest force. Again, each of these concepts, I do have lots of sessions on some of these concepts. There's about 1,500 of those posted on the YouTube channel. A plug there again, Empowering Gita Reflections. But all other forces come out of the force of love, bond, whether you talk about molecular level, subatomic forces, or cosmic galactic forces. Again, this is clearly consistent with science. Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma is very clearly consistent and aligns with science. It does not define. In fact, science borrows, I'll challenge, I'll say that science borrows from the principles and the fundamentals that are in the Sanatana Dharma. And so with that, I will say that the love, pure love, uncontaminated love, unselfish love, expectation-free love, cost-free love, judgment-free love, just-free love is the real freedom, is the biggest driving force in it. And so for us to get to that state of mind, ultimately, for me to experience that, there are many paths. They're all good. One of the reasons, many reasons I like Gita and think it's the best, one of them is that it does not criticize. It's focus, it's framing, the chashma jo pehna, it's not this is bad, this is wrong, it's aisa nahi, waisa nahi. It never compromises the truth. It keeps a great, clear focus on the truth and mean, but it does not get involved in the petty stuff, in the small little stuff, and including all the paths. These are all upheld in the Gita, that they're not negated. So there are the varnashram rituals, in other words, religion, religion, like forming, reconnecting religion. The ritual that we follow, the Navada Bhakti, for example, this is glorified. Ramji suggested that to Shabari, Shri Krishna, on his last day of his avatar, last hour of his avatar, demonstrated that, or rather talked about it to Uddhav also. The ritualistic also, Vandanam, Archanam, Vishnu Pada Sevanam, Smaranam, all those things. And so we all follow the Varnashram Dharma according to however we were brought up, wherever someone's born in Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, however those are all glorified in the Gita also. In fact, he claims that I created those. Shri Krishna says in the Gita, I have created those. He claims ownership of it. Nothing could be bad, nothing could be wrong. If God is God, then by definition God has to be good. Otherwise, if you define God in your own way, and so there is nothing bad or wrong. It is our limitation. It is our minds make it bad. There's nothing otherwise wrong with it. We can follow varnashram rituals all lifelong, and I think we may have been doing this lifetime after lifetime. Pothi, padna, arti karna, all of that. Again, good stuff. We can do pilgrimage and charity. As I said before, I've done every time I come to India, I'd never leave without going to some prominent pilgrimage place. I've been outside of India for the last more than 30 years, and I have not missed, any without going to some tirtha, because what I get out of it is just unparalleled. So it's great. And we could do dan dharma, charities, obviously being able to give whatever little I have, being able to give something from it, is also good and glorified. There is this superior path of Ashtanga Yoga. Very few people are able to follow that, right? It's elegant, it's great, it's awesome, it's wonderful, it's phenomenal. It's very powerful, very strong, and it has the ability to take you through the experience of samadhi, yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Like in samadhi is when the ritam, bhara, pragya experience can be had, where you're experiencing your oneness with it all. Brahmi Chetana, unity consciousness, that I am one with everyone. There is only one, right? The ultimate truth that there is only one, and I'm part of it. I'm one with it. Just like there are 1,000 waves, 10,000 waves, 100,000 waves in an ocean and sea, there's only one sea. All the waves, there's nothing other than the ocean in every one of them, in the form of the water. In the ocean, every wave is one with the ocean, and the ocean is one with the wave. So the aggregate of it is there is only one. In the dream, right? When I dream, all my dream characters, the good and the bad and the ugly and the sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, all dream characters are one with me. They're all in me, and I alone am in all of them. At 2 a.m. in the night, they started somewhere. Meri khopdi mein aaye. 3 a.m. they all went away. Where did they come from? Where did they go? Who made them? Who was them? Well, they came from me. They went up. They also vileen bhi ho gaye, dissolved in me. No one else was in them. I alone was in them, and every one of them was also in me. So to experience that level of truth with everything that's around, in the physical realm is ultimately very much possible through the Ashtanga Yoga, which is why it's still strong and alive. And then there are the austerities, the vrat, alag-alag prakar ke vrat hote hai. Some common ones are upvas karna, nirjala karna, different kinds. You all would know that. I have experimented with every one of these. Honest truth. I have tried all of those, and nothing was working for me because it's very, very ordinary, dull, just simple. There's nothing special about me. I feel like all these need something special. Like you have to be a very special, pure soul, or you have to be very committed, or you have to be very strong. You're physically or mentally resolute, determined. And I didn't have any of those. Again, honest truth. But I have tried those. And I tried enough to know that yes, they work. They have the power. They're right. They're good. But I can't do that. And so I'm getting to the Gita Alternative. And the allied disciplines that come along with vraton ke saath upasana marg mein jo aate hai wo. Then there's the information available. So there's 50 gurus today at least, right? Maybe more in India. And every one of them has their own sort of nuance. So they're all right. Again, what I've learned from the Gita, and in fact there is a very direct question and answer between Krishna and Uddhav, in which he very specifically asks which one of them is right. Uddhav Gita, last hour of Krishna's Charita, he asked like, oh, there's so many opinions, there are so many mantras, there are so many कहते लाल पहनो, लाल नहीं पहनो, ये खाओ, ये नहीं खाओ, उसके उल्टा कहते हैं, और इस दिन ये करो, उस दिन वो मत करो. Which one is right? And Krishna says, they're all of them are right. And that's a confusing answer. Maybe Krishna was a lawyer, but he didn't even go to school. And then he explained that because the truth is so broad and big that everybody describes the way they see it, and they've picked that path and they've reached it. So they say, why don't you follow Vaishno Devi jana, to is raste se aana? You can reach. Someone might say, well, you can take a helicopter. Someone might say, gadhe pe baith ke bhi ja sakte hai. Alag-alag rastos se. So they, in their own way, they're right. But it does not mean that that is the only way. Now, if you're old, then you might want to take a helicopter ride. If you're young and really want to prove something, you might climb the mountain. If you're normal, you might just take the stairs, use the system. If you're normal like me, somebody has created a system, why don't you follow? And you'll reach there also, right? And so my mindset was of that what is the system that is already created that I can follow to make it easy for me to get to the final truth, to experience, again, the experience and not reading. I read a lot, and I'll tell you about some of those. Not reading, not writing, not listening. I've listened to a lot of different gurus in Hindi, Marathi, English. But the point of it is ultimately we have to experience it. Just reading doesn't bring the experience. Writing doesn't bring the experience. It's internal, right? There is no words for experience. It cannot be expressed. This is a very poor attempt, but experience has to be experienced. I mean, what else can I say? Hunger, bhook, wohi jaane jo bhooka hai. You know, what does love? How can I describe love? Only those who have loved or experienced love can experience love. How can you describe Narad Bhakti Sutra? How can you describe sweet? Okay, someone has never had a sense of taste. What does sweet feel like? You can use words all you want, but you have to experience. And so it is that the unity of us, and again, my request to you is to be open-minded to consider this. If you're not seeking that, I'm very sorry. I'm pulling my arms, I'm bent down on my knees, but you're wasting your life. There's the saddest life. I'm sorry to say, but I don't care how big your institutions are and your achievements are and how many followers you have and where else your name is. If I didn't tell you the truth, then I would be a politician. I would also be trying to sell something. I'm not trying to sell anything. Yeah, I'm a well-wisher, you are well-wishers. There's just a few handful of people here, right? And so you've actually made it a priority to come here. And so I have to say it as I see it also, that if that is not the goal of the remainder of life, it's a sad story. The chandi sone ke tukde idhar hi reh jayenge. I mean, we've heard this again, but sun ke kuch nahi hua na. Ki this is the glorious time of being in a human form. We've got a brilliant brain inside that can understand so much, that can think so much. There is no shortage of access. There are people who have walked ahead of you, who can say, follow the way. There's so many of them in India. This is the best place to be in for this pursuit. And still, if we have no time for the spiritual pursuit, and so maybe some other, then I cannot imagine a sadder life than that. So we can do where I was at the information overload and overexertion. I read a lot, heard a lot, and then got very tired, very exhausted. And actually, my brain could not handle it because, again, honest truth, I'm a normal, ordinary, simple, average guy. And so it takes a while to fully figure that. And there's just so many of it is available. And then there is the Gita, right? If all of these haven't worked like they didn't for me, if it's just not a make-believe, feel good, अच्छा लगता है उपवास हुआ और साबुदाना बड़ा दान दे दिया, हार 108 नारियल का हार पहना दिया, feel good, and then next day what happens? If you feel good, it should always feel good. I'm standing here in front of you, I'm challenging you, I always feel good. I challenge you to find me anything less than excellent, fully cheerful, joyful. And there is a way to get to that stage. And why wouldn't you why should anyone not have it? Everyone should have that state of mind. So I found that through the Gita. There are other ways. If we just become very religious, some Hindu hai, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, we follow that path. I have, again, obviously being born and raised in a very dharmic family. My parents have been and they're initiated in the Ramakrishna order. When I was a child, Ramakrishna Paramhans, so very, very influenced. I am very influenced by Ramakrishna Paramhansa, Swami Vivekananda from childhood, reading their books. Like being born in a Brahmin family, it's just like inescapable. You follow the rituals and you do this, that. So yeah, I've experienced all of it. I've done it. Even now we have Ganpati and all the other religious occasions at home. Artha, fulfillment of desires, common-eyes, right? Like I want this, I want that, I want that. I think the good Lord has blessed us to a place where we have fulfilled all our desires, whatever those. And then moksha, it's a very long path. It's a torturous path. There is lots of potholes in it. There is lots of traps in it. You can get caught. Dharm ke naam par hi bahut adharm hota hai, ho sakta hai. Like right, diye ke niche andhakar ho sakta hai, hota hai. Or for earth, like the financial, fiscal opulence, there is a lot of time wasted. Majority of the time of life is wasted in just pursuit of happiness. That kamana purti is insatiable. There is no end to it. The kamanas don't end. It's like throwing rocket or petrol on a fire. That's not going to put it off. Fulfilling desires is not the way to fulfill desires. The only way out, brothers and sisters, the only way out is in. Without going inside, all the solutions, all the answers, the only way really is inside. Not dependence on external stimuli, not engaging with it. The answers are not out there. The answers cannot be out there. But more important, the answer is in us, within us. Every one of us. It does not need us to know Sanskrit. It does not need us to be a very erudite, scholarly, very intelligent. It does not need us to be a math whiz or know 3-4 languages. It does not require us to have lots of contacts or influences or access to this and that. If you're a human, it's a beautiful package, and this comes in the 10th chapter. So in Vibhuti Yoga, he says that emphatically, that if you're born as a human, I've made sure it comes with the package. Everything you need to know to experience your divinity is already in there. It does not say Hindus. The Hindu word never appears in the Gita either, but because it's rooted in Sanatana Dharma, right? The Gita, I'll get to that in a moment. So my point was, on the second bullet was external facing joy, again, wonderful. Who am I? Who the heck am I to sing glories of these? Our Puranas, Vedas, Itihasas. Honest truth, I've read a lot of those. As an example, if it is Ramayana, there is the Tulsi Ramayana, there is the Adhyatma Ramayana, right? There is also the Tulsi Ramayana is the Ramcharitmanas. There is also Yoga Vasishtha Maharamayana. There are various versions. And just to see and compare, I've read all of them, and they're all great in their own ways. Just if I had more time, depending on where we end, I can give you some examples of the truths from, that's my mother, Yai. Thank you for coming. The truth, the synthesis of the truth in the Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana or the Ramcharitmanas or the Adhyatma Ramayana, and the synthesis is just so beautiful. There's so many itihasa. There's the 4 Vedas, we say, Rig, Sam, Yajur, and then Atharva Veda, obviously. And the truth of it is that there aren't just 4 Vedas. Those are the 4 known Vedas. And like there is evidence in our religion that there's untold number of Vedas. Essentially, is just the body of knowledge. There is no way to categorize everything there is to know in just 4 categories. Those are just the 4. The story is, this is a fable. The story is that when we go to Himalayas or to a mountain, और घर मिट्टी लानी है वृंदावन की, तो we fistful of soil माचिस की डब्बी में ziploc में डाल के घर में लाया. That's how the Vedas are, the 4 Vedas that we know. Again, I'm not making this up. I can give you the scriptural evidence. I can tell you where you can read this. That it's said that ऐसे से ब्रह्मा ने मुट्ठी वो उठाई और दे दिया, जाओ पढ़ो करके, वो तो नाच रहे कूद रहे 4 वेद करके. That's just a little. There is a mountain. It said there's a mountain of knowledge. What you have, what we have as 4 Vedas is मुट्ठी भर के दिया हुआ. So who is going to really know all there is to know? Puranas, right? There's 18 Puranas are famous. There's 18 of those. There are many others also. Each Puran, as an example, has tens of thousands of lines, verses. Each verse is two lines. Each line, if it has 10 words, we're talking about millions and millions of Sanskrit words in one Puran, and there's 18 of those. Bhagwat Puran, you may have heard, has 18,000 verses. Skanda Puran, 84,000 verses. There's massive amounts of. Who has time? I don't even know all that good Sanskrit. I don't even have as much time. So I started on that path, reading a lot about it. The Yoga Vasishtha and Adhyatma Ramayana and Tulsi Ramayana, obviously Mahabharata and others, and the Vedas and the Upanishads. What drew me closest was the study of the Upanishads. There is Ityas and there is other branches, the Shat Shastra, right? Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Mimamsa, Sankhya. Those are in themselves, they're complete separate branches that if you wanted to study, you could spend a lifetime studying all of those as well. And then there's obviously science. Science has a place here also. It's just modern science has a place in spirituality. In fact, as I said, I now have evidence modern science borrows from spirituality. Everything practically that modern science exerts, says, there's a direct link that somebody has already said all that before. And that somebody almost always happens to be someone from Sanatana Dharma, from India, practically speaking. So there is no original science, modern science, that's not clearly can be linked. Again, I told you, I will not say it if I don't know it. That's a promise, right? And that this is based on my own experience also as well. But even science, how much science are we going to study? Who has time? Who has enough brain? I don't. I didn't have enough time. I don't have enough brain to learn all there is that science has to teach. So those are external facing. Then there are internal facing. So the Vedas, obviously, the 4 Vedas, as we know, 90% of those are karma kanda, as it's called, like do this, do that, ritualistic, right? इसके लिए ये मंत्र है, उसके लिए वो, and they're again powerful, glorious, wonderful. Pranam hai, something like each of the Vedas. And the last, about 10% of the Vedas, the ending portion of each of the Vedas, it's called Gyan Kanda, Jnana Kanda. It's like do this, do this, do this, and if someone says, well, why? What's the point of it, right? If you ask the question, why should I chant this mantra? Usse kya hoga? Well, you'll go to Swarga. So what? If you keep asking, so what? Ye hoga, so what? Ultimately, why is this is why, is the purpose behind it, the essence of it, is in the Upanishads, which are part of the Vedas themselves. Upanishads are not a separate body or separate from Vedas. They're part of this is the last portions of the Vedas. But that's where the makhan is, if you will. Those tend to take us inward. And so if you must read, if you're the reader type, if you want, then I would recommend start with the Upanishads rather than going here and there a lot. And the glory of the Gita is that it has nothing other than Upanishad. Every chapter, of the 18 chapters of the Gita ends with the Om, Gita Upanishadsu, Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre, Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, Om Tat Sat Iti. Every chapter ends with that, which is an aphorism in the Upanishads also. Gita Su Upanishadsu. So it acknowledges bibliography is there. Even in the Gita, even in those times, there was the integrity of information exchange. They clearly said this is all coming from the Upanishad. The Gita is like hand-picked from the thousands of verses, as if the Lord, if didn't have enough time, Arjun, Ayin Vakt, I'm not going to fight. Na yodhasayati govindam. How do you pick up someone who alone could have won this war? And so very quickly picked all the relevant ones and put the Gita forward. But it is all sourced in the Upanishads, which are sourced in the Gita and the Vedas. But Vedas are external facing, Upanishads are internal facing, and the Gita is super internal facing. Like really, really, really gets to the point of all of that. There are adjuncts of Upanishads also. There are 108 known Upanishads. Most of those known are 18 major Upanishads. The rest are called minor Upanishads. But I believe there's probably a lot many more than 108. I don't know them, those. But you can do all that, or there's the Gita, is the point that I'm saying. You can do Vrat, Niyam, this, that, or the Gita. You can keep reading and indulge in science and all that, or there is the Gita. Again, all this is I am showing you my journey, if you care, if it matters to you. Another way to think of why the Gita is that there are the exclusive cults. At exclusive, we only do vertical. Well, we only do horizontal. We do 1, we do 3. We have to have this dot. We put it here. We also do here, 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 here. We use this ash. We use that ash. We eat before 12. We eat after 12. These are all real examples. We eat before 6. We eat after or sunrise, sunset. And so those who follow that, ये मेरे वाले हैं, मेरे आश्रम के हैं, मेरे गुरु के हैं. So they're like divisive, not very well intended. The intention is good. The intention is right. Again, no criticism of it. The Gita does not criticize, and I could never criticize. Who am I? What do I know, right? I have not followed all of their paths. So, but they are not inclusive. They still say that this is one way. Now they're describing, just like I'm describing my path, they're describing their path. But I still insist on the Gita because it is the broadest highway. On this highway, rickshaw bhi ja sakte, balgadi bhi ja sakte, sab, everyone, there is a lane for everyone. You pick your lane and just maje mein, bindas, first class you can travel without any concocted, without any necessary. The Gita prescribes certain things in a very light touch, in a very casual way. But it's nothing unpalatable, nothing there is that we cannot do. That's the other glory of the Gita. First was that it comes where we are. It does not say, well, you 12 saal ye karne ke baad you have to spend 40 days anushthan karke udhar baad mein Gita. Jidhar hai udhar, sofa pe baith ke, jis ghar mein, jo language mein, us language mein. That's one. The second is that it does not criticize anyone. It includes. It is the most inclusive way of spirituality that I have found. Otherwise, and frankly, I have actually belonged to exclusive cults. I have accepted certain paths in the past. And then I went halfway through and said, no, that doesn't make sense. That only this. And so I sort of slowly faded from that. Then I tried a couple other things as well. Then there is the inclusive. People say, oh, Christianity, हम लोग हिंदुओं को भी खिलाते हैं, मुसलमानों को भी खिलाते हैं, सबको. No, we're inclusive. That's illusory. That's a make-believe. They mean it. They actually mean it. They actually serve it, right? It's real also. But it still falls short, does not get to the truth of it, which is the Brahmi Chetana that I talked about, the unity consciousness, being able to identify, really experience what? That I am in all, and all are in me. That ultimately, when you get to the final answer, that how is it that there is no one else sitting here, not just here, but anywhere, not just the good ones, but even the bad ones, even the worst of the worst, not just humans, but the dogs and the dog eater. also, right? And these are all the verses in the Gita. Shunichaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshina comes in the Gita. Those who are beyond, transcended beyond rules and regulations and this, that, who are able to samadrishti rakhe, who are able to love everyone equally, inclusively, is the path of the Gita. And so I've tried the exclusive cult, definitely Vaishnav. I was born in a Vaishnav family. Tirupati Balaji, Lakshmi Venkatesh's or Kuldev had gone to Tirupati many times, other Balajis, and I happen to be a lover of Krishna, which is aligned with obviously Vaishnavism, but greatly adore, admire, love Shiva also. I mean, I just, in my mind, I cannot understand how people are able to say that these are two different. Vishnu alag hai, Shiv alag hai. I just can't understand this with my limited brain. It's not possible. The way I have understood the truth, that they are two separate and they're two different and their own paths, it's just not possible. The way it looks from my lens, with the way I am able to see it. But my point was that I've tried with Marathi, Maharashtra mein Ganpati, you cannot escape, right? So obviously, even still, we have Ganpati. I used to go with my father since childhood to Gayatri Upasana, so we've tried that. So there are the 5 primary exclusive cults. There is the Vaishnava, there is the Shaiva, there is the Shakta, Devi ki Upasana jo karte hai. There is the Surya Upasana, Gayatri Upasana, and there is the Ganapatya. Those are the 5 prominent in our religion. And I have to say that I've dabbled in each of those more or less, but then there is the Gita that includes like nothing else, no one else. To remain open-minded, to open it, to read it, give it a shot. Don't read something and just shut it down. Make it your own. This is for us. This is for each of us individually. Gita was not just spoken for Arjun or just 5,000 years ago. There is no other scripture in any religion, including Hinduism, that is the most relevant for today. It doesn't matter whether you live in America, like me, 31 years, or in India, or whether which caste, which creed, which religion, which skin color you belong to. It doesn't matter. It has to be God's miracle. The way it so relevantly applies to everyone and everything, only God, whoever is God, right? Nirgun, Nirakaro, Sagun, Sakar, whoever is God, only that God could have created something as beautiful, as powerful, as wonderful as the Gita, my experience. So, how are we doing on time? Keep going? A little bit more? Sure. Okay. So how my framing was, obviously we think of ourselves as a person. By the way, these slides I put together last night. So they are very ordinary, like me. There's nothing fancy about them. Because I realized that there's a projector here that maybe might as well put my thoughts here together. So please pardon the poor quality of the schematics and all of that. But we consider ourselves as individuals, right? We're rooted in individuality. I'm a person, and my framing in life had been that I have to find out why I do whatever I do. If I go to college, if I work, if I get married, if I have children, if I want a promotion, if I come to India, if I go back to the US, what is the purpose behind it? If the purpose isn't clear, then I don't want to do it. First and foremost would be the purpose. And so that transcends every aspect of life. If I am a human, why was I born as a human and that was born as a dog? Well, there must be a reason why I can do more than the dog can. The dog can only bark and wag the tail. I can do a lot more. So why am I blessed? Why have I been endowed with a lot more than others? Or even as humans, why me? Right? And not them. Why do they have less than me? Or why does someone else have more than I do? So the why has been always haunting. And if you think about it, even children are born with why. In the US, it's like the most common word when kids are born. Why? Like, 2 saal ke bacche, kyun? Why? Ka? Like, why? Because the soul is born searching with that why. Like, why anything? And so if we're not identifying the purpose of this life, then it doesn't matter. I might as well be a dog. I might as well be a cat or a bakri, or because They don't have any why, they don't have any purpose. They live without purpose. And if I also live without purpose, then they eat something and they sleep somewhere, I eat something else and I sleep somewhere else. I cannot claim any superiority over animals if the purpose is not driving me. And then essentially, as I said, the Gita says that it's not possible to not do something at all times. Every moment we are always doing something, either externally or internally. We're either thinking, breathing, contemplating, planning, scheming, plotting, this, that, or we're actually engaging in physical activity also. And then we need knowledge, obviously, to do what? How should I do it, right? So the three main aspects of a person in life, thinking differently, is that I need to know. We all need to. That's the reason why we're constantly on social media, scrolling up and down, then this group and then that group, and then forwarding, because I think I want to know, and I think they might want to know also. They might like to know. So look at how much time we spend. Just look at ourselves in just collecting knowledge and gathering knowledge. We will store it, we will save it, we will forward it, we will print it, we will vocalize it. So like right now, I'm sharing knowledge, right? First, I got the knowledge myself, and then I cannot sit still. I feel like, oh, maybe I should share it. And so we are driven by the pursuit of knowledge because we don't know who we are. And so until we find that answer, we will continue to seek knowledge. The trouble is if we seek the knowledge of the external, that is endless and illusory, the answer is within. Like I said, the only way out is in. And then act. And so many people say when we do Gita in the US that I cannot meditate. I can tell me any amount of work, tell me any amount of seva, I'll do this, that, I'll move mountains, but don't tell me to just sit still and meditate. I say meditation is something that when you do nothing, I'm asking you to do nothing. And it's like, how can that be? I cannot do nothing. I have to do something. And ना ध्यान में जब बैठते थे ये होता ना कुछ करना नहीं है, right? I mean, if कुछ करने लगे तो ध्यान कैसे हो गया फिर? Because concentrate. You have to do nothing, and that becomes an impossible task for so many people. That what do you mean do nothing? I have to do something. So we are propelled and we're driven by action, but all action needs knowledge. All of this comes in the Gita, by the way, from what I'm sharing. This is not, I may have put together the slide, and that's why it's poor quality and all that, not very well. But the fundamentals, the principles, again, I'm trying to impress on your mind the glory of the Gita, the technical aspects of it, the subjective element, the objective elements, all of this is embedded in the Gita. When you study the Gita in a very short, succinct way, that key principles Krishna lays out, that you will always be driven by action. And doing action without knowledge is meaningless, it's useless, it's stupid, frankly. And so you must know first and then do according to that. And the more you will do, the knowledge will refine. And once you know a little more, then you'll do better. And when you do a little better, the knowledge will refine further. And it's an empirical cycle in which knowledge supports action, and then action refines knowledge. Like in any experiment, the more times we do, the quality improves like that. But neither action nor knowledge is meaningless if you don't know. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you. Like I said, I don't know where I'm going. Okay, then pick any road. जिधर जाना है उधर जा, पता ही नहीं है कहाँ जाना है तो, right? If you don't know where you're going, then any road will take you there. And so, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I seeking knowledge? If the purpose isn't driving that, then it's a waste of time. And therefore, that's how technical, that's how succinct the Gita is, which really insists on identifying the purpose first and foremost. And the clarity that it brings, once we have the purpose identified, it is amazing. The clarity of life becomes so simple, so easy, so good, so consistent, so uncomplicated. Otherwise, life is so complicated right now. There's just 10,000 people to please. There's no way to please everyone. And there's so many conflicts. Conflicts within us. Forget about other people. Conflicts, and we think one way one day, other way another day, or at a different place. Deshe kale cha patrecha, the Gita says in the 17th chapter. How we think, how we behave, what happens depends on where you are, the location, and then depends on the time of that is, and also depends on who you're with. And so there are, in the permutations and combinations of the Desha, Kala, Patra, The same person will behave differently at a different place or a different time or think differently. So the experience of the external world is temporary, it's unreliable, it does not stay, and therefore limit it, right? We have to engage with the external world, obviously. I'm engaging with the external world, everyone does, but limit it, moderate it, and save some for the internal journey. And then, of course, when and where. Those are the very 5 basic questions in any business, in any scientific journey. It's like what, where, how, when, where. So again, very modern. And the answers I found, so this is imaginary now for most people. Like I started somewhere and I ended up somewhere. Obviously, I cannot describe the journey along the way, how it happened, what happened, and what do you see and all that. That's a longer, if interested, then you can go to the geeta.org website or the YouTube channel, and you'll have the 1,500 posts there that you can see. But essentially, the purpose then becomes that I want to rediscover my identity and reconnect with the truth. That we're lost because we're actually not lost. Like a wave on the ocean can never be lost from the ocean. The wave cannot go on the street and say, "Pan kha ke aati hu, jara rukna." The wave will subsist, right? It will not exist. The wave is always and ever connected with the ocean, but has forgotten that wave is simply a form. I am a lot more than just a form. This is just a form. There is so much more to the wave. This has water to it, and in the sense of a water, it's the entire ocean, right? And so in the form of an Atma, I am it, all of it. And then obviously ocean is God, if you want to think of it that way, the aggregate of it. So yoga, which essentially Gita, the central theme, the essence of Gita, the one word that Gita clinches is yoga, right? Every one of the 18 chapters have names that end in yoga. Arjuna Vishad Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Atma Yoga, Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. And so the idea of yoga is reconnecting. We think we are disconnected. We think we are individuals. We think we are separate from each other, and therefore we're trying to safeguard ours. Maya or mera. Maya mera, tu tera. Tera mera, mera tera, mera tera, tera mera. Yahi Prabhu ki maya. इससे कौन बच पाया? ऋषियों को, मुनियों को, जोगियों को, तपस्वियों को इसने सदा नचाया. इससे कोई नहीं बच पाया. What? Like me and mine, you and yours, you and yours. Tukade, 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 exclusive, exclusive, exclusively, in place of reconnecting and inclusive and experiencing the oneness, in place of experiencing the one, the same, as I say, the one in anyone, the one in everyone. Even the words are pointing us toward that. When I say anyone, I cannot say it without one. When I say everyone, I cannot say. I even say the man in the many. M-A-N-Y, right? If you have the Y, the man in the many will become clearer to you. It's so obvious, it's just too obvious for us to see. The truth is just too simple for us to understand. That's the problem. नाक के नीचे तो दिखाई नहीं दे ऐसे like it's in us, therefore we don't see it outside of us. And therefore we have to go within. So the purpose that drove me, I realized through the study of the Gita, was that I wanted to connect. I wanted to reconnect, rediscover the identity. So the Gita tells us that the only trouble we have, any of us, anywhere, at any time, is that we have misidentified ourselves with the body. It's the main galti, and really the only galti ho gayi कि we think we're the body. I'm this person, mera naam ye hai, this is my name and form. The name and form misidentification. The Gita informs us that the job here of human life is to misidentification. We have to disidentify with the body, disconnect, right? Disidentify with the body and re-identify with the whole. Right now we have misidentified with the part, with the small little thing that the body is. And the only thing we have to do in this is that disconnect. Tam vidya dukkha sanyoga viyoga yoga sannitam sanishchayena yokta yogo nirvinna chetasa. 6th chapter. Very powerful, awesome, forceful shlok that comes in Dhyan Yoga, in Atma Sanyam Yoga, in the Gita. He says that you're plugged into this material world, if you can visualize it. Dukkha ke saath sanyog hua hai. because of this misidentification. Yoga, he says, is like dukkha sanyukta. So we disconnect it, unplug it, and replug it in the right channel. Tam vidya, that is vidya, sa vidyaya vimuktaye, which will forever give forever freedom. Disconnecting from the wrong outlet and reconnecting in the right outlet is the only job that Gita said that we have to do, and that's only possible in the human form. Dogs and cats and bail, bakre, nahi samajh payenge. You have to disconnect from here and reconnect it here. It is possible in the human form. Every human can understand that much. It does not need any qualifications. Otherwise, I would not have it. The truth is, if it needed certain this, and that qualification, then I would be the sort of last man standing in the line. That's how real and that's how possible it is. That so reconnecting with the whole is the purpose. So what is the experience then? Experience is the truth. Like, what is the final truth and what is my role in it? Why am I here? ठीक है, भगवान है, truth है, all that. Like, what am I supposed to do, right? What is my role in it? It is like imagine dreaming, and there are dream characters, and it's a good dream, bad dream. It's like a mixed dream, and it's if someone woke me up, if I am in my own. This is an example I'm giving. If I am in my own dream, 2:30 बजे रात के सपना चल रहा है, and I am in my dream, and you all are in the dream, and if others are in the dream also. And I'm liking someone, I'm not liking someone, I'm being tortured, someone is harassing me, someone is doing injustice on me, someone is helping and favoring me, and I've tossed and turned, good and bad, this, that. If someone woke me up in the middle of the night and said, well, look, that you is not the real you. The one you think, sapne mein, the real you is the one who is dreaming. They're all in you. And you alone are in all of them. They're not good, bad, any of that. Whatever it is concocted, you're making this up. Don't be tortured by your dream. Don't get too excited about the lottery or the promotion. That's not real. It's not going to stay. And don't be too depressed about nuksan ho gaya, ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya, gali de diya. So just know it to be a dream, and you yourself are a dream character. And if I said, and then if the person who woke me up says, suppose, then now go back and dream again. And so what do you want me to do now? Abhi aadha sapna ho gaya. So the natural, obviously, like beautify the dream. Now that you know this is a dream, if you have a choice, if anyone has a choice, do you want to see a good dream or a bad dream? Like constantly, as much as possible, I want to see a good dream. So then go back and beautify the dream as much as possible. And so the role then simply becomes living this like this is a dream, because it is. I know you wouldn't care for that as much, or may not like it or believe it. I have to state my truth regardless. I cannot compromise my truth, right? My experience, it doesn't matter whether anyone agrees with it or believes it or not. My truth is my truth. And this is the truth that I have heard many other, who am I? I've seen many other bigger luminaries stated also. But my role in it is to beautify it. And the way to do it, how do I do that, right? The question, how do I do it, is through pure, uncontaminated, loving service. It's an action. Love is an action word. I love you means nothing if I don't actually show that, if I don't do that, right? एक दूसरे को क्या कहते हैं, I love you, करे कुछ नहीं. I love you. जूते पड़ेंगे, right? Like do something. If you love someone, you have to do love. You have to show love. Love is an action word. My wife, Madhi, constantly reminds me. I've learned from her. Love is an action word. If you love someone, you have to show love. The only way to do that is. And so, if I want to beautify the world, it is through pure, uncontaminated, loving service. Service, right? Seva bhav se, purity of intention. Purity of intention leads to flawless execution. Purity not external, necessarily. External is also upheld and valued. Anapeksha, shuchir, daksha, udasina, gata, vetha. Bhakti Yoga, 12th chapter. Says Shuchi has a place in it also. But far more important is the internal purity of intention. Do I want something from it? Am I looking for something? Do I have some expectations? Do I have any judgments? Is there a cost to this? When all strings are attached, when it's unsmitten by personal desires, then regardless, when it's the same level of service, same level of excellence, same level of attention, energy, provided and devoted through love. Why? Because I love the dreamer, in whom alone are all the dream characters. And so I'll summarize this whole thing with this, that the dream character can send nothing out of the dream for the dreamer. है ना, मेरे सपने में जो है देख वो कोई दही पेड़े लड्डू कुछ नहीं बेच सकते, सपने से माल बाहर कैसे आएगा? And so therefore, if I love the dreamer, if I know who the dreamer is, and I want to show my love for my Krishna, as I believe, as the dreamer, there is nothing I can send to him from this. ये तो लड्डू पेड़े तो इधर ही रह जाते, अपन ही खा लेते हैं, वहाँ तक क्या है ना? And so, but the one thing the secret that I hit upon is the experience of that. सपने का experience, सपन दृष्टा को होता है. The experience in the dream is experienced by the dreamer, not the dream character. सपने में दो थप्पड़ पड़ी, अच्छा लगा, गाली दी, बुरा लगा. The dream characters don't even exist. Nothing happens to them. But the dreamer feels good or bad. And so experience is the currency of the soul. I want you to insist on that. Atma hai. What kind of experience we give each other when we're together, when we're each other. That's how the soul is greeting each other. When we insult someone, when we disparage someone, when किसी की निंदा करे, criticize, or we uphold, or we create space and hold space for others, when we make them feel better, what kind of an experience is this soul giving to the other soul? That is the currency. We can enrich each other as souls, rather than impoverishing him, rather than stealing from each other, because we're rooted in abundance. We have unlimited positive, we're rooted in love. And so I want the dreamer to have only good experience through this dream character. Therefore, whatever I engage in, whoever I engage with, I must make sure that, because my eye is not on the dream character, my eye, what is in my head is the dreamer who is experiencing the experience through the dream character. And so, this is a very, very, very quick way of trying to explain in a capsule what all that is. But this is where the Gita takes us. When and where? It said, why not everywhere? Why not every time? Why would I divide out only for my people, only for the people in Nagpur, only for Indians, only for Gorong ke liye? It said every breath, and every breath should be engaging in this manner, and no matter where I am. And so this is the lofty, very high place that the Gita takes us so quickly to it. Otherwise, it'll take a lifetime, and I wouldn't even understand much of it. But very swiftly finding patli gali se jaake anubhava ko. Isliye I'm trying to insist that the Gita. This is, some of you may have seen this the last time we had in the Chitnis Hall. Another way of looking at it, I'll quickly go through it. We all start as the sadhak, right? I started as a seeker, and obviously still seeking. I'm still a sadhak. That in a way that never ends. It's an asymptotic curve that never touches the axis. You can always continue to refine ourselves. And so I'm myself on this journey as well. So the three fundamental principles that the Gita gifted me, and I think gives anyone who is a sincere sadhak of Gita, if you were to take the 700 verses in the Gita, 18 chapters, and synthesize, when you are on the journey, how does it lead you? And then in the next slide, it says, when you reach the destination, what are these replaced with? What do you then see? So one is the dharmanishta. It roots, it anchors in dharmanishta. But the dharma is not Hindu dharma in this case, or original dharma, or inherent quality, intrinsic quality. Guna dharma jise kehte, like what we are made of. And there's a word for it. It's just, I could not sing it, Satchidananda. I could not sing the glories of the word, of the definition of God. One definition is Satchidananda, right? Sat, Chit, Ananda. Those are our three intrinsic qualities. There could be an entire 2-hour session on just that one word, easily. Such is the glory of Satchidananda. That's our original nature. And when I say dharmanishta, ever dutiful, recognizing our original quality, who we are, what we're made of the sat aspect, of the chit aspect. Sat is the permanent existence. Right? Chit is the knowledge itself, and ananda is obviously joy, uncontaminated. Just a nishtha in it, grounded in it, anchored in it, is something that I learned from the Gita. The second is in the journey of the Gita is anti-clockwise. All other, just 2 saal pehle we went to Pandharpur. and it was Ekadashi, the big Ekadashi there. So you can imagine how much crowd. And so the connection that we had, you need a connection everywhere. In India, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So he took us the exact opposite way. And within like 2 minutes, Pandurang ke charno pe the. So because सब लोग जिधर से जाए उधर से लेके गया था. And that's the path of the Gita, by the way, rather than neti, 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 right? The path, the long circuitous path, na iti, na iti, na iti, not this, not this, not this, not this. Oh, there's so much. मर जाएंगे na iti करते करते फिर है क्या? Right? The Gita first takes us there. अगर ये नहीं है तो कब बताओगे है क्या? And so it's normally we're used to going in clockwise. This journey is purposely anti-clockwise. Start with dharmanishta. I mean, I'm saying to myself, then apeksha rahit. The Gita teaches expectation free with everything, anyone at any point. And then obviously all that with sharanagati. It's essential. And this is a natural progression. That's why those are connected. If the more I am dharmanishta, the more automatically its power is, it makes me sharanagat, and it also makes me apeksha rahit. Pick any one of those, just a chadar, like you pick one corner, the whole thing will come up. You pick any one of those through words, deeds and thoughts, manasa, vacha, karmana. And so in the journey of the Gita as a sadhak, dharmanishta for myself, apeksha rahit from others, having no expectations from jodiya le liya, acha bura, but we staying anchored and grounded in our dharma, and then sharanagati Bhagwan ki, sharanagati of God. That's the path that I picked up from the Gita, and where it leads in the end. Once you follow it, that's when यहाँ पर जैसे sadhana निर्गुण निराकार करते रहते, there is a chance that you will experience the nirgun nirakar. There is also a chance that you might also get the other side of God in the background as you start to see. But so dharma nishta in the yogi stage, siddha stage, again this is based in the Gita. This is not my stuff. I may be interpreting it, I may be putting this up, but it's not. The original mal is the Lord's. Dharma nishta is replaced. जैसे पहुंच गए तो GPS बंद कर देते हैं, चिट्ठी फेंक देते हैं, because you're there, right? You don't just still sit in the bus. अभी उतरना आगे ना. So because there is a different place there once we. So dharma नहीं निष्ठा नहीं सहज स्थिति. शंकर सहज स्वरूप संहारा लागी समाधि अखंड अपारा. सहज जो natural जैसे है वैसे. फिर कोई ये सच्चिदानंद है, ये करना है, वो करना है. Then how could it be a siddha avastha? फिर भी अगर rules है, then how is that soul free? If there are still some rules to follow. Now they do follow natural inclination of that, because the momentum है जिस दिशा में गाड़ी जाएगी, and they want to uphold as an example. The Gita says loka sangraha me vapi. Just as a role model, Mahatmas still follow all the rules and the dharma and all. They don't have to. Internally they don't need to, because they've reached. So dharma nishta is substituted with spontaneously pure. Those are just those are purity personified. The siddhas and the yogis. The going anti-clockwise again, the apeksha rahit avastha is replaced with sankalpa rahit. Apeksha has like the other side of it. Sankalpa hi nahi hai. Starting out there's no desire. There's no aim, aisa ho. So then if there is no sankalpa, there is also no apeksha. So the beej hi nash ho gaya, jisko Bhagwan Buddha called it nirvana pad. Nirvana pad was not dead, burn, ashes. Nirvana pad is extinguishing, burning off, putting off. One of the greatest luminaries ever, right? Bhagwan Buddha, one of the absolute, right? The way he's defined, the more you study Buddha and his character and his religion, the more you bow down, you have to. Supreme, after all, avatar. So it's dialing down, it's putting off the flames of desires. That's nirvana pad. So that is sankalpa rahit, super unattached. The way I interpret it is like completely unattached. Jo hai jaisa hai, jab, just like always cheerful. Expect nothing, accept everything cheerfully though. Not depressed, as I was saying. Always cheerfully, expecting nothing, accepting everything, ever cheerfully. That is the only way to be able to live bindas, first class, as we say. बिंदास अपनी ओर से जितना हो सके, first class, whatever I do, mantra for myself, and I'm just saying it, I will do first class, not second class, and never third class, no matter who I am with or what is being done. And the next moment, we can bindas. I've delivered my first class, now what do I care? It doesn't matter. So that's the Sankalparayit Sthiti. But where the heart and the soul of a yogi, I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a jnani, I'm not talking about a dhyani, tapi. Gita focuses on yoga. And the sadhak of Gita becomes a yogi many, many times. Tapasvibhyo adhiko yogi, karmibhyascha adhiko matah, jnanibhyascha adhiko yogi, tasmad yogi bhava Arjuna. In the 6th chapter is you must become a yogi, get past knowledge and tap and this, that, move past, get into the stage of yoga, because only then we can serve with loving service. नहीं तो फिर अपनी गोवा में जाके बैठ गए अपना काम क्या? We are here to serve, to uphold, to be part of the system, not run away, because we are part of the system, not running away. And that automatically becomes a premi. The best way to describe it is like a premi, a pure premi. And I'll just speak for myself that Krishna premi, because it's not enough to say general premi hai, Bhagwan ko chahte hai. My experience has been that nothing helps like picking a name and a form until you reach there, get to that stage. Then depending on where the journey takes, again the Gita says, all are right, all are good, all are fine, don't entangle, don't engage, don't get stuck in ऐसा ही है वैसा ही है, सबके लिए स्थान हो, सबका सम्मान हो, but our eyes must be focused on what is it that I seek, right? Creating space for it. Go through, I'll stop at this slide and I'll quickly flip through. This is the last slide I think that I'll actually cover, and then we can engage in some conversation. The Gita is a comprehensive package. The hundreds of thousands of millions of verses in Sanatana Dharma and Ved, Puranas and all of that. I didn't have enough time for it. I'm not sure if you do. It has 700 verses, 700 श्लोक. ये इतनी सी गीता है. वो गीता बड़ी लगती है because there's so many purports, interpretation, Sanskrit, transliteration, Hindi. Actual Gita is this. Arjun said, I don't want to fight. उसको समय नहीं था ज़्यादा lecture देने के लिए. We had to pick him up again, जल्दी उसको वापस करके. So it's not a very long sermon. Jesus spoke for 40 days. The Bible came from the Mount Sinai पे 40 days lecture उसके सत्संग चलते रहे. Great Mahatma. Another, like I said about Buddha Bhagwan, the more I understand Jesus, the more I have to bow down. It's a real Mahatma, absolute yogi, for sure. It's been misunderstood. Christians have ruined it for Jesus. Jesus himself was absolutely, and so everyone, whether it's Guru Nanak, Buddha, Jesus, they themselves are authentic and original and legitimate, obviously. But the point is, he spoke for 40 days. कितना बना गया. इसने 700 श्लोक में बोल दिया. जो बात बतानी थी सब इधर उधर से इकट्ठा करके. ऐसा कुछ नहीं. There's nothing that is outside of the Gita that is so important. I have to know that's not in the Gita. Guarantee say, challenge say, for more than 12 years I've been studying regularly, seriously, sincerely, committedly the Gita. Every single time I'm overwhelmed with its beauty, with its power. I don't know how this is possible. It has to come from God, whoever we describe God as. Nirgun Nirakaro Sagun Sagar, Jo bhi hai Bhagwan, this Gita has to have come from God. And it shows, if you're sincere, if you're open-minded, if you're pramanikta se. So it's sacha chamatkar hai, miracle hai. So relevant. Abhi right here, right now, that it's completely relevant. There's nothing in the medical science or my daughter is studying, she's completing her PhD in astrogeology. She's one of the 150 scientists, Mohini, on the Mars rover. She manages the camera at times. Sometimes she receives the images Mars se jo aate, she's the first one to receive. My son is finishing his IT bachelor's, and and my wife is a professional. We engage in a lot of scientific, political conversations. Every time we're able to see that this has already been claimed in the Gita. This has been said, aisa hoga, ye hota waisa. Not predictions, not future, but this is how the system works. is what has been stated in the Gita. Whether you take astrogeology, medical sciences, computer sciences, or executive management, Wall Street, corporate, political. Now we're steeped in the Trump and Biden war, Republican, Democrat. All of that fits in the frame of the Gita. This is truly no child left behind kind of scripture. So I would encourage you to pick it up and give it a shot. And broadly, again, this is my last slide. It talks about 3 aspects of it. It has 18 chapters. 18 adhyay hai, 6 barabar. It's all about us, meaning all about us that matters. Gita is not like ye bhi hai, wo bhi. Whatever is relevant, whatever is important, whatever matters. All about us, about you, about me, about everyone. If it's a sentient being, if it's a physical thing, if it's a living being, all about it is whatever is important to know, whatever is meaningful to know, whatever is useful, helpful to know, it's in the Gita. Generally speaking, in the first 6 chapters, you'll find that. This is mera masala hai. This is defective, this is imperfect, this is not how exactly it is. This is my way of interpreting it. And so take it for what it's worth. This is not like the complete all that. Nobody said it like this. Nobody claimed it. God certainly did not say it. Ved Vyas, who compiled it, did not say it either. And therefore this has limited value. But still, it is useful to think that I'm able to see the gravitational mass of the material object, material universe in the first 6 chapters. Like in the second chapter, first chapter, Arjun Vishadyo, Arjun is grief struck. And that's a sentiment we've all experienced. Most of the time, there's some problem, there's some trouble in life. And then he talks about us not being a body, about being the Atma. Actually, there might be, if you let, there is just one more slide. I'm very greedy when it comes to that. Hopefully we get through that. About 40% of the Gita focuses on that, and then roughly 30% each on all about God. Krishna talks about himself also, and Krishna talks about other gods also, like demigods, very clearly. And again, there is consistency, there is no criticism, there is no superior, inferior. Yet he does say that I am it in the Gita. Krishna claims that there are many places that this is it. Remember, he said it to only one person. It was a loudspeaker लगा के सबको सब सुनो मैं भगवान हूँ. And even Arjun, when he was on his knees with trembling arms, with crying, right? Kritanjalira bhashitam karvanya dosho oparata svabhava prichhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha yat shreyasyam nishchitam bruhitan me shishyaste ham shadhimam tvam prapannam. Says Arjun was begging, praying, pleading, please tell me. You have been my friend, my brother. Now, today I accept you as my guru. I'm your disciple. So please pull me out of this grief, this confusion, this insecurity, this anxiety, this miserable condition that I am in. I don't know what to do, what is right to do. वो जो बार बार भीख मांग रहा है, उसके बाद उसने बताया, उसी को बताया कि मैं भगवान हूँ. So this is not there to advertise his own glory. And then about the system that connects us. God is in a system that he created, he's the creator, and we are in the system. So how do we live? Why do things happen? किसी को कैंसर क्यों हो जाता है, किसी को ये क्यों? Like most of the questions are answered in it. But he does give more significance to us in that, the gravitational mass. We're going to skip through all of this to your joy. I'm not going to. I thought there was one other slide, but maybe not. Anyway, so next time when we meet, whenever we do, what we'll go through is we'll pick up from where we left off. Maybe we'll just literally pick up this slide. That okay, we said all this is in the Gita, and then we'll go through the division of those 3. I will leave you with the summary of where we started here. That again, the existential questions, the most critical questions about who am I? Is there God? Who is God if there is? What's my relationship with God? What's the system in which we both, the whole thing operates? How should I live going forward? These have to be the burning questions. Unless and until we seek answers to these questions, it's a wasteful life. It may be a joyful life. It feels like a comfortable life, luxurious life, joyful life, all that, but it's a wasteful life. If you don't know what's going to happen after we die, then all of it is like the bucket quality. कुछ नहीं रहा हाथ में. That's a shame. And we're humans, and there is something we can do about it. And it's there, and it's here, and it's available to us. So my हाथ जोड़ के प्रार्थना करता हूँ, please consider, take up the Gita, open it, give it some time, don't rush through it, sit with it, make it your own. Make Krishna or God, or whichever form of God, for me it's Krishna, make your own. उसको मंदिर का भगवान न रहने दे, या कहीं सप्तलोक ब्रह्मलोक का भगवान न रहने दे, अपना है यार, अपना भगवान बनाए. If he has made us his own, why would we deprive it? And then see the magic. I guarantee you, I challenge you, get on WhatsApp and let me know otherwise if you feel anything differently. And I think this should be it. Again, the last plug, everything that I, for the last 12 years, we've been talking about GitaYog.org is the website. And the YouTube channel, Empowering Gita Reflections, that's my WhatsApp number. If you get on it, I'll send this entire deck. I am going to put this deck on WhatsApp. This is open source. There's no expectation. You can join the WhatsApp groups. Those of us who are on it know that you can join whenever you want. You can leave whenever you want. There is zero expectation. Suit yourself. You can join, leave, never join, whatever, however you like it. Jai Shri Krishna. एक बार कहते ना. Okay. We'll stop here. If anyone has anything else to share or questions, we can.
Or there is Vivechan. What happens on the WhatsApp exactly?
So what happens on the WhatsApp? So the WhatsApp group is just a group like any other WhatsApp group, like school. What happens actually is that there are live Gita reflections, just like this session every weekend in the US. In Hindi, Marathi, and English, there are sessions that are recorded and then that are put on WhatsApp through that. What I don't record is the question and answer. After every session, just like this, for example, there are people engaged and they answer questions. I ask questions like, what did you pick up from today's reflection? What was your own personal takeaway? What stuck with you? And how can you use it in your personal life? नहीं तो क्या फायदा है अगर उपयोगी बात नहीं अपने जीवन में काम की नहीं है तो फिर क्या? This is still, Gita is also a waste of time if it's not useful. So I want everyone to think and answer that how can you use what you heard in your own life with the traffic, with the bad boss, or with the wife who doesn't listen, or whatever. Is this applicable? And I guarantee that it is useful. And so those are not recorded, the conversation. But what I talk about is recorded. And every day, every single day, without Rajan knows it, I put something on. Sometimes it's a 3-minute, sometimes it's a 1 hour long. Sometimes it's in Hindi, Marathi, English. I try to mix and match about some thoughts.
In that particular thing, we claim that Atma cannot be cut off, cannot be divided, something like that. But in our biological classes, what we see that there is one amoeba, and we press it from the center, it becomes 2 amoeba. So please, please give a thought to this, because if the Atma cannot be divided into 2, so there is one Atma in one amoeba, you press it from the center, it becomes 2 amoeba, and both are independently working. So please think in this direction. 4 to 5 years I have been thinking on this, how can we explain this on the basis of Gita?
Sure. So that comes in the 2nd chapter, the shlok that you talked about, right? Like when he's saying, Dronacharya, sab mar jayenge. He said, no one dies, no one can cut the soul. So the Gita, later on, if we move past that, it says that it's not that everybody has tukda Atma ka. It's not that this amoeba has a little bit of Atma, that amoeba has a little bit of Atma, that Atma is all pervasive. It's a single Atma, it's a one Atma. And that the forms that we call amoebas, they've taken the form, just like there's one ocean. And the waves breaks into 1,000 pieces, right? लहर अगर पत्थर पे टूट गई तो उसके 10 waves हो गए. तो ओशन 10 नहीं हुए, पानी 10 नहीं हुए. जिस पानी से वेव बनी थी वो भी फिर पानी के पहले, वेव बनने के पहले पानी था. वेव बनी तब भी पानी, और वेव टूट जाएगी उसके बाद भी वैसा का वैसा जल है. It's going to take a different form and start flowing again. And so it is that the form always breaks. He says that also in the Gita, like the form is perishable. You can never keep this form, that form, any form. Form always breaks. सपना टूटता ही है, मटका फूटता ही है, लहर बिखरती ही है, because those are forms. But what it is made of, मिट्टी नहीं टूटती, मटका टूटा तो, है ना? You, like 2 days ago, I took my wife's, ये टूट गया तो दूसरा लाना, सोना वैसा का वैसा था, है ना? वो बंगड़ी ये हो गया वो हो गया, लेकिन सोना वैसा करा. सपना टूटता, सपना देखने वाला नहीं टूटा. When the dream broke, the dreamer did not die, and so the amoeba that you are thinking is just still the form is multiplying. It's not that atma ke tukde ho gaye. Atma is still, it's just not amoeba's atma, it's your atma. In fact, the Gita later on tells us that amoeba that you broke into pieces, you thought, are you? Tattvamasi. Right? Whoever said, you are that. Tattvamasi. And he says ultimately always, if you think of it in the form of water, this wave is you, this wave is you, this wave is you, because they're all made of the same water. And the entire body of water is contained and held up by the sea, by the ocean, which we call, for example, Bhagwan. And so it isn't the Atma that is breaking, it is not the Atma that is dividing. That would be the exact opposite of it. It's the form that is. So if you go past the Gita, I would encourage you to, again, keep an open mind. The best qualification, the only qualification that the Gita, I forgot to mention, is an open mind. That maybe, right? Someone says, okay, maybe. And then go past, continue your journey in the Gita, and you will find your own answers. Those will be the best answers. No one else's answers, including mine answer, will be as good as your own answer. I guarantee you'll find your own answer to the question if you continue your journey. So.
You just mentioned about chapter 6.
About what?
Chapter 6.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us about chapter 6 in 2 lines maybe? What exactly it is?
It is, first of all, it's very practical, that it tells us how to control, moderate, regulate our senses. Sanyam is jivan ke liye. So that we are able to meditate and focus. In meditation we understand. And the second thing it teaches is, you said 2 sentences. Secondly, how do you connect with it? How do you experience your identity with it? How is it, just how is it that I am that amoeba? That doesn't make sense. I'm not that amoeba. But how is it that I am? So that chapter tells us what is it that you need to do to experience that. How do I need to prepare? How do I need to get rid of my external dependencies, external stimuli? Once you do that, how do you reconnect with it?
So one more question maybe. So there are 18 chapters, right? So can we go and read any one in isolation, or all are related and I need to go through in sequence?
So they're both. Obviously they're related, but they are discrete enough where there is no condition needed that you don't go to 6th chapter until you've done first 5. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Pakka, guarantees it. If you do that, it helps. Obviously, it makes sense. If you start with first, but then sooner or later you'll find certain places in the Gita that you personally are attracted to, like they were and she was and all of that. But
And roughly how many hours I would need to go through each of these chapters to understand? 1 hour,
the
1
total
hour?
Gita would take about 2.5 hours if you read it.
Okay, only 2.5 hours.
It's 700 verses. Yeah, the total Gita.
The summary in sense, I can understand the matter, right?
I'm still working on it, 20 years.
Okay.
Suit yourself. I don't think, in fact, later on in the Gita, it says only wo boss hi janta hai. Krishna knows it. There's what the truth of it. So I don't want to fool you. But the thing is, however much you get, samundar mein, pura samundar mein terne ki zarurat nahi na. You just go maybe 10 feet, 15, 20 feet, dubki laga ke, you experienced the ocean.